Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. Get that bug spray out, because this is episode 127, and we are talking about creepy crawlies, bugs, spiders, and everything in between. I am Liz Williams, and I am joined by...
Eric Lee.
And Mike Campbell.
Cooking in the summer heat of Portland, Oregon.
Yep.
Well, I'm keeping it cool down in New Orleans in the mid-90s.
There are no bugs in Portland, Oregon right now because we're living on the face of the sun.
Yeah. there are baked bugs. And yeah, so any worms that are unfortunate to be within the first foot of soil are probably cooked.
They're cooked worms.
Yeah.
Yuck.
So, as we talked about, what's that?
I was going to say you're a resident bug expert. I mean,
that's true. I mean, sort of.
You do love your entomology. You do collect your bug pieces and parts.
Yeah, I have in my house. I have a collection of insects that are encased in displays. I have like the death's head moth from Silence of the Lambs. I got one of those.
Right.
I have looking over there, a giant rhinoceros beetle, a bunch of butterflies. Got a bunch of bugs.
Eric is not a serial killer, as far as we know, though. As far as we know. But yes. What draws you to the bugs? And this may help inform why we're even talking about bugs today.
Oh, but one, it's like this. I think there's a lot of people have a natural phobia towards.
Right, that's true.
You know, how many people do you know who just run out of the room when they see a spider?
I can deal with spiders. You guys don't have the roaches like we have.
Oh,
no.
No.
We call them palmetto bugs. They're like 4 inches long and they fly. You can hear them. They are horrible. I have thought about moving away from here because of those bugs.
Yuck. Yeah,
I'm on patrol with my spray. I don't even pay a guy anymore. I have my own toxic tub of things that I spray all around the doors, all around the windows. Trust me.
Excellent. Yeah.
People here have a regimen that you do starting in the summer. You're like, oh my God, it's hot. I saw my first roach outside. Time to lock down the porch.
I get sugar ants sometimes.
Yeah.
Parade of sugar ants, and it drives me nuts.
I have a 17-year-old who is terrified of spiders, absolutely terrified of spiders, and he is the dude. He is a dude's dude, and he's
a skater.
Yes,
kid. Yeah.
Yes, he devolves into a puddle of tears when he sees a spider.
Right. So I think that it is one of the biggest irrational fear things out there.
100%.
You know, snakes.
Right, totally.
Some people have fear of snakes or rodents.
Right.
But these
don't like those either.
These are all the kinds of things if you get mobbed or swarmed or sometimes for Ernie it's probably just one spider will send him
all it takes is one.
But if the house all of a sudden just became a room full of spiders,
right,
he would faint.
Right.
Get away.
Well, I think the thing with insects too is part of the phobia is they can get on you and they can get in you.
Yes.
And I think
they can.
Whereas a lot of these animals can chomp you in half, but they can't crawl inside your ear.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I remember there was was either the Twilight Zone, an old Twilight Zone, or a Tales from the Dark Side, but it was about an earwig.
Oh,
that would actually crawl into your ear.
Right.
Which would get replicated later on in Star Trek 2. I think Paul Winfield got some sort of thing crawling into his ear, and it was like, oh,
right.
That's just one of those kinds of things where it's like earwig. Of course, they can crawl in your ear.
Right.
But I think the other thing is, full disclosure, my mother is an entomologist.
There you go.
So
it's all coming together.
She did her research on mayflies and caddisflies, which are actually beautiful winged little. There's the little delicate things that look like dragonflies.
Does your mom know? Is there a caddisfly horror film?
No, they're not. They are the least scary things out there.
So she's not aware of one.
Yeah, but I don't know that my mother isn't aware of any horror movies, so she just tries to stay away from it. So I think we want to return back to something that we mentioned last week.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, that happens to be...
What is that exciting bit of news?
That exciting bit of news is that we are proud to be an affiliate partner with Fangoria.
Hell yeah.
This is the most famous name in horror print media. Fangoria is now a premium grade printed magazine with high gloss, high grade paper, and now with high definition images to satisfy all your horror needs. Because this is back in the day when we were kids, it would be on the top shelf of the magazine rack in the grocery store.
But you could still grab it.
You could still grab it, and it would have something about how to do a severed head,
right?
Or it would show something from Day of the Dead with Joe Pilato getting ripped in half, and it's like, see how they actually did it. It's like, oh my god, this is so cool. It's now in a collectible format.
Yep.
Because in this day and age, it's just. Print media it's a different animal, but it is a beautiful production now. And if you go to www.fangoria.com and use our promotional code TST20, that's for the scariest things, 20% off. You can get anything that's on the Fangoria merchandise site, and including single back issues of. Of the if you just happen to miss any of them, you can go back and get them. And there's also, although you can't use our promotional code when getting an annual subscription, they do have another way that you can get 20% off. So I think this is it. We're proud to actually have them contact us, and we are now professional partners. It's great.
Yeah.
It's called advertising.
Cool.
Who would have thought?
The thing I love about Fangoria, you kind of mentioned it. It's like it's almost like a reference guide.
Yeah.
It's like, while they don't do the how to sever a limb anymore, or at least that's not a big focus of the magazine anymore. They do put together really fascinating articles looking back at films and a lot of contemporary stuff as well. Mm-hmm. But it really does serve as like a reference guide. Like you read these things and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. This makes sense how this film fits into whatever the subgenre of horror is. Yeah,
it's background information. Mm-hmm. It's the making of movies.
Yeah.
And it's talking with classically you get drawn in because you'd see Freddy Krueger on the cover. Mm-hmm. And then you know that you got Robert Englund doing an interview, and those are the kinds of things that that they have special access to. That as much as despite our pleas, we have yet to get a call from Robert Englund to be on our show. But Robert, if you happen to be out there listening,
but Fangoria is a close second.
That's right,
close second.
So, anyways, this is it. We've always been looking to cross promote with something that we believe in, and we're not going to be pitching stuff like ED pills and Manscaped nonsense.
Although
we're not
Viagra, if you're listening, we would love to cross promote with you.
Yes, that we.
I don't know if Viagra is an actual person or it's a company or what.
It's a philosophy.
We'll just put that out there.
Right. So anyhow, I think we're awfully happy to have something that supports us because of they support what we do. So this is great. It's a perfect relationship. Anyways,
yes.
Back to
bugs.
Back to the bugs.
This is what I discovered with bugs. Much like mummies, many of the plots are almost exactly the same. It's a lot of Jaws ripoffs. It's a lot of corporate malfeasance. It's a lot of hard-nosed but non-law enforcement protagonists. Yeah. And there's always a lot of toxic goo that makes the bugs who they are.
There's nature. You focused on the nature gone bad aspect.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I stuck with the sort of the traditional bug construct.
Right. I've got a couple of wrinkles in
going back to the
mind.
1940s,
really, all over
with the
place.
Atomic Age.
Yeah. So Liz, you said if you're all over the place, what kinds of things were you finding in your research?
Well, when I was researching what I was going to watch, first I thought, hey, maybe I'll just watch all the ones that end in an exclamation point, because they sure have a lot of ones that end in an exclamation point.
Tarantula.
But I went with some favorites, and I went with a gateway, a middle one, and then full out. So I got different kinds. Gotta go creepy crawlies because spiders are not insects.
Right.
Any spider guy will tell you. And I got some giant space bugs. I got some prehistoric bugs. I got all sorts of bugs.
Okay.
I will say most of the bug movies, the insect movies, are pretty palatable to watch with kids, and they are pretty gateway oriented. I mean, obviously, we'll probably get into some that aren't gateway, but most of these are kind of fun and simple movies that kids can digest and not be too frightened of.
Right. And then there are some of them which are things that will make will creep the hell out of most adults.
All right, we'll start there. Start there, Eric. Tell us what would creep the hell out of me.
All right. Well, I'm going to a 2015 movie called Bite.
Oh, yeah.
This is directed by Chad Archibald, who did a couple of other movies of lesser known, like Ejecta and I'll Take Your Dead. It stars Elma Begovic as Casey, a young woman who is on her bachelorette party in Costa Rica, and she is there with her friend Jill and Kristen, having a good old party time, and she's getting a little bit of cold feet about getting married, because her fiance Jared he's a handsome enough man. He was very successful. He's an investment banker, but he's also got an overbearing mother who is a puritanical and very demanding woman, and finding it very hard to please. And when they go out partying, they are told by one of the locals, or actually not a local, but a tourist, who goes, "Oh, you have to go see the Sea of Stars. It's this beautiful pond full of crystal clear water, and it's like walking on the galaxy. It's like it's absolutely stunning. You have to see it." And so the girls go, "Sure." So in some ways, it reminds me of The Ruins, right? Where it's like, "Hey, you hear about this cool thing out in the jungle? Go check it out."
Don't ever go down to the jungle and check it out.
It was a mistake. They found this interesting pool, but it was kind of this milky green kind of water, but it was surrounded by beautiful rocks. And Casey, they're sort of splashing around, going, "This is neat," and then all of a sudden she gets bit by something, and it's like, "Oh, bug bite." That bug bite comes back to have some dire consequences, because they come back, and she encounters her fiance, who really wants kids. She doesn't want kids, and he surprises her with, "Look, I restored this old high chair," and it's like, oh god, he wants kids right away. So things don't get off real well when she returns. The mother-in-law is being really nasty to her, but something that is also happening is that Bite has gotten infected, and it's gotten big and pussy, and things go downhill from there.
Yep.
She's transforming into an insect person. So this is a movie for people who liked and could handle The Fly.
Right.
This has similar kinds of things. It is full of really sloppy, gloppy, transformative stuff, and you see this poor young woman, lose. She's just an attractive woman who just turns hideous, right? And then there's some other complicating factors, like, haha, surprise, you're pregnant, and the fact that she has never had sex with her fiance because of his demanding. His mother forbade them from having premarital sex, so all of a sudden that's an issue, and it's like, and then you kind of wonder, it's like, are you really pregnant with a child, or are you pregnant with a whole bunch of bug babies?
Bug babies.
And
do we get to find out if they're bug babies?
Yes.
All right.
It's really
spoil it for me, because I will never watch it, because it sounds horrifying.
It is really gross, and
bug babies.
You end up her apartment slowly turns into a nest, and everybody who all of her friends and family, one by one, come to pay her a visit, and for whatever reason they don't immediately close the door and run away and call the cops or somebody, but they wander in looking for Casey. Casey's not human anymore.
Oh,
and
I haven't seen Bite.
Bad things happen. It
looked gross to me, so I've avoided it. It looked good, but gross.
Really gross, and
I'm gonna watch it.
It's
I'm putting Bite on the list.
And it's somewhat satisfying, because you find out that not all of her friends and family have her best interests in mind.
Right.
And she finds out about this as she's transforming.
Okay.
She gets it's exciting. So
all right.
A little bit of it's you don't see the initial bug. Great closer, because it's like the kind of things like
bug babies.
More bug babies.
Is there going to be a Bite 2?
It's a 2015 movie. I don't know how well it did. It probably was grosser than most people can handle.
Okay. I mean, from a plot perspective, is there going to be a Bite 2?
Yes, there could be. They set it up well that way.
Bite 2.
Yep.
Bug babies.
Yeah, it ends up with someone going, "Ow!" It's like, it's just a bug bite, and then it goes, "Bite!" Right? So.
Not just a bug bite. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Sometimes a bug bite actually can lead to worse things. All right, Liz, what have you got for your number one?
I have something to the very opposite end of the spectrum of your choice, and I have the family-friendly, amazing horror comedy Arachnophobia.
There you go. Yes.
The ultimate bug gateway movie. This is directed by Frank Marshall and stars Jeff Daniels and John Goodman.
Great combo.
They're a great combo. But it begins in Venezuela when Dr. Atherton, played by horror stalwart Julian Sands, and a photographer are, going to the bottom of the rainforest, and there's a spider that they've, disturbed after thousands of years, who crawls into the cameraman's, pants and bites him, and he dies. So they have to ship him back to his home in Cambria, California, where Dr. Ross Jennings, Jeff Daniels, has just moved his young family. He's going to be the town doctor. They've got this kind of farmhouse, and the spider, through a series of events, ends up in their barn, and infestation ensues. So they've got to call Dilbert McClintock, who is John Goodman as the exterminator, and his Bug Be Gone business to solve the problem of these spiders in their home. And it's fun, creepy. Jeff Daniels' character hates spiders and is afraid of them, and so that's good for laughs, seeing him have to deal with this. And it is family fun that everybody can handle, and the opposite of the movie that Eric just described.
Bite is not a gateway film.
Much more my level of bugs. Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia is a wonderful film. It really is.
Love it.
Yeah,
it's one of the great gateway films in the genre.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, double feature this one with The Burbs. That'll be a great night.
Yeah,
horror night with your.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
And don't people who just need your scaredy cats in your life.
Yeah.
Don't confuse this movie with Arachnoquake, which was about an earthquake triggered by a brood of giant fire-breathing spiders. Not a good movie.
No. All right. The first film I'm going to talk about is a film that holds a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. 6%. This is a film that when they did the filming, it was so cold during the filming that one of the actresses' jaw dislocated because of her screaming scenes and had to be sent to the hospital. This is sort of the ultimate in bug movie, brought to you by bug huckster Burt Gordon. This is 1977's The Empire of the Ants.
All right, Joan Collins.
Joan Collins, yes. This is the third and last of the AIP's H.G. Wells films, which included Food of the Gods and The Island of Dr. Moreau. This is the last in the list. Yeah. And this film, man, is 1970 like you would 1970s like you would not believe. It's even got this wonderful like In Search of type opening where they talk to you about how ants communicate and how they use pheromones and whatnot, and then of course the voiceover says, "But we humans don't have to worry about that." Cut to these dudes dumping all this toxic waste in the ocean and giant ants. And what I was talking about earlier with regard to like corporate malfeasance, in this case, Joan Collins is a property developer who's trying to sell all this group of people on these condominiums on this little island off the Florida coast, and of course the whole thing is just it's a complete ruse. There is no property; it's mostly swampland. Joan Collins is super scurrilous. And they're, unbeknownst to everyone else, they're dealing with giant ants. This one, I will say, plays like a very, very standard sort of giant bug movie, but has a fascinating twist that I absolutely did not see coming. And I hadn't read the H.G. Apparently, it's based on an H.G. Wells short story, Empire of the Ants, I think it's from like the early 1900s. I hadn't read that. I don't know if you guys have read that short story, but it is based on a short story. And I didn't realize that that's where the whole film was going. And it ends in a really, really interesting way. The thing that's pretty cool about it is like, I will say this about a lot of these bug films. They don't use CGI. I mean, they're using, in most cases, they're using either real bugs, they're doing close-up shots of bugs, they're doing a lot of green screen type stuff, and they're doing lots of sort of, for the time, pretty innovative special effects.
Yeah, that's actually a time-honored thing with creepy crawlies. I think Kingdom of the Spiders, same thing, and I think Tarantula may have used actual tarantulas on miniature sets.
Yeah. Yeah, although in this case he used all that, but then he paired it with these these large giant rubber costumes that apparently all the actors and actresses hated. In fact, Joan Collins apparently at one point was like refusing to even come on the set because when these giant ants would attack her, they actually like scratched her, and she was not having it. This is pre-Dynasty.
Yeah. Although I have to say that when it comes to it, and I don't know if Night of the Lepus.
Yeah.
With the giant rabbits that are cutting loose in the town.
Yeah.
That's my favorite use of actual animals. It's like, those little bunnies don't look like they'd hurt anybody, even if they were 500 pounds.
Right. All right, Eric, what is your next film?
Okay, my next film is, again, so this is a divergent from the Nature Gone Bad thing. This is a 2006 William Friedkin movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Bug.
Yeah.
From 2006,
I saw that one. Okay.
Starring Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon, with Harry Connick Jr. Also playing the nasty ex-con ex of Ashley Judd's character Agnes White, who is she's a hard luck waitress in a remote Oklahoma town who's trying to get her life together and avoid her abusive ex. And her co-worker and best friend, R.C., comes over to party one night and brings over a strange man from the bar that they work together, a fella named Peter, who is Michael Shannon, who has surprising intuition skills. Peter's a homeless fella, but he befriends Agnes, and they strike up a curious relationship because he's willing to defend her from Jerry, her ex,
right.
And neither of these characters have both had some hard times behind them, and so complete trust is hard to come by. But they find kinship in their traumatic life experiences. And Peter was a soldier who'd broken out of a VA hospital ward where he claims to have been experimented on by the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And Agnes not only has an abusive ex, but she lost her son to an apparent kidnapping several years ago. So this is very much a drama for the first 2/3 of the movie.
Yeah.
And so, like some movies, you go, where's the horror? Well, it comes.
Right.
And as soon as we get the characters established, it's time to set the stage for the horror stuff. The Fleabag Motel that Agnes is staying at apparently has bed bugs, or at least Peter believes there are bed bugs. He keeps on pointing to them, and he shows that he's getting these bites.
Right.
And and he manages to just convince Agnes that there are biting bugs and they're going to deal with it in the morning. But then weird conspiracy theories crop up. But he takes his shirt off, and all of a sudden he's covered in horrible scabs and scratches.
Right.
Part of it is that he's scratching himself. or he's digging at perceived bugs, real or not. You never see any bugs, and he keeps on going to the microscope and looking at it and going, "See, bugs," and trying to prove it to other, to Agnes and other people who had come. But this is pretty soon it becomes a story that's like, these bugs, there may not be the bug infestation. He keeps on, there's some really horrible things. Like he thinks he's got bugs in his teeth, so he starts pulling his teeth out. And if you've got dental horror issues, man, that's a brutal scene.
Not the one for you.
And eventually they just go into this spiral of paranoia and delusion and conspiracy theories. And they wrap the motel room full of tinfoil, and they bunker up and prepare for the worst. It is ratcheted up a ton of tension. This whole movie. This is the itchiest movie you will ever see. It is like you just watch it and it feels like you feel like you sense the itchiness. But it also becomes very much a story about delusion. And that's really what the crux is.
Yeah.
And that he manages. There is the closing sequence is this massive dialogue where Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd just break out every ounce of their acting chops, and they go on these mad rants for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible to watch.
Man, you went for the heavier side of bugs.
Yes.
Seriously.
So this is
this is not arachnophobia.
Yeah, you will not see any actual bugs. In fact, there's probably no bugs, but there are stabbings, and there is a lot of scratching and tearing at their own. It's like just self-destruction.
Yeah.
And in a way that Friedkin knows how to do. Yep. So anyways, that is Bug from 2006.
All right.
All right. I'm back to lighten the load. We are going to one of the movies that is so bad it's good, and it is 1997's Starship Troopers, directed by Paul Verhoeven.
Yes.
And this takes place in the 23rd century.
Space bugs.
While the humans are being attacked by an insectoid species known as the arachnids, but people just call them bugs. And these bugs are giant killing machines that hate people. And so the United Citizens Federation, these high schoolers are pretty much signing up for the military after graduation. After they graduate from school in Buenos Aires, people who are 40 playing high school seniors, such as Casper Van Dien, Denise Richards, Jake Busey, and Neil Patrick Harris, sign up pretty much for the military and get deployed in all their different factions to attack these bugs on their planet. They got to go to war because the bugs attacked Buenos Aires and wipe it off the planet. It's silly,
I'm trying to remember. Was it
terribly acted.
Did this precede 9/11?
Yeah,
it's from 1997.
Yeah. No, because it has kind of like the jingoistic overtones. It's the
yeah. But
join up to fight the bugs. We got to take the bugs down. That kind of thing. Yep. But like in their school class, they dissect these giant bugs. They have like a kind of like a PSA where it's just these little kids stomping on beetles, and their moms are like, yes, like laughing. And
Paul Verhoeven's classic satire. Yes.
Oh God, it's so bad. It's very long. It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes long. The acting is garbage, but oh man, it lives in my heart, and it is a very fun movie that for some reason we usually watch on Thanksgiving. I don't know if it's just it's like on TV.
Bugs equals turkeys.
Bugs equals turkeys. I don't know. So,
well, there's like six. There's like six sequels too.
Convoluted, but
I've never seen any of the sequels.
Yeah, there's like
there's tons.
But there's like animated
Starship
sequels.
Troopers 2, Hero of the Federation, Starship Troopers 3, Marauders. Then there's 2 animated films.
That's what.
Starship Troopers Invasion and Traders of Mars.
Yeah, I think the thing is that Verhoeven knew that what he was doing, that he picked wooden actors, and there's a lot of stuff
that
in
all of his movies though. He chooses.
Right. Whether it's RoboCop.
Yes. Basic Instinct.
What's
Showgirls,
the Mars one? Oh, Showgirls.
Total
wow.
Recall.
Yeah, Total Recall. That's the one I was thinking of. With
he is, once in a generation there comes someone like him.
Right.
I mean, some of his films are just so bad, but so awesome.
Enjoyable. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah. So, Starship Troopers. That's your kids, teenagers can do Starship Troopers. They'll be bored because the acting is so bad.
Yeah, but there's a lot of action and blood and
there's tons
and the sexy cast.
Blown apart, and everybody's really good looking.
Yep.
But they can't act. But
what? Denise Richards, not a good actress? What?
No,
True indeed. True indeed.
All right, Mike, what you got?
This is also a film called Bug, the original Bug. This is the 1975 horror film directed by Jeannot Swarach and written by another huckster, much like Burt Gordon, William Castle.
The Tingler fame.
Yes. Well, William Castle apparently wanted as a gimmick for this film to install like brushes near the seats that would rub against people's legs to stimulate bugs crawling on them. But the studio was like, that sounds really complicated. We're not going to do that. This is a film that stars the great Bradford Dillman. In fact, Bradford Dillman, if you don't know him, he was on like quite a tear in the 1970s. He did almost back to back to back. He did The Swarm, which is, that was the big Irwin Allen Bug movie. He did Bug, and then he did Piranha, like back to back to back. Wow. I mean, this guy, he was in some of the greatest horror movies of all time.
What was he in Piranha?
He was the main character.
Okay.
He was the main guy, the guy whose little daughter is at the camp, who he goes to save. But in this case, Bug, the 1975 Bug, involves an earthquake that releases a bunch of mutant cockroaches that they actually create fire by rubbing their cerci together. I know that sounds a little untoward, but they do rub their cerci together, and the mutant bugs mostly die because they can't deal with the air pressure on the surface of the earth. Sure.
Science.
Sure. But Bradford Dillman, playing a local entomologist, he captures the bugs, puts them in a pressure chamber, and he decides to breed them with cockroaches to create a sort of this hyper mutant cockroach breed of super intelligent flying cockroaches that can create fire wherever they go. Makes absolutely no sense, but there is a ton of great gore in the film. There is a ton of really, really, funny acting and whatnot. And, it is William Castle. So it's you're going to get a lot of sort of goofy 1970s, 70s character work, and it really is it's a fun movie, but it's well done, it's well produced, and it's pretty darn gory for a film from 1975 that doesn't portend to really be a gore type film, because the bugs do jump on people and they set them on fire. And there's several instances where they jump on people's eyeballs and set their eyeballs on fire.
What?
Yeah, so there's definitely some gore to 1975's Bug. Eric, what is your next film?
Well, I'm going to go back to a lighter fare movie.
Yes.
This is a fairly recent one that I saw through I think Popcorn Frights. This is Itsy Bitsy from 2019. And so if I was to make if there's a comp, it's Arachnophobia.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, it's probably a little scarier than Arachnophobia.
Sure.
But it is a great gateway spider horror film. And, a horror film like this, for a gateway, it's great to have a good young protagonist. And in this case, what we have is a transplanted family where the mom is being forced to move to an old farmhouse to start a new nursing job, watching over an old archaeology professor in order to make ends meet, because living in the city is expensive, and this rich guy who's got a mansion is willing to pay a lot just to get nursed. And it's boring in the country. and Jesse is there's Jesse and Cambria are the two kids. Jesse eventually finds that the professor's house full of antiquities is very interesting, and to the point where he's mischievous and he ends up pocketing a totem that he probably shouldn't have. But he didn't find the most interesting artifact. There is a particularly curious urn that happens to contain the eggs of a great Polynesian spider goddess. And one of the professor's old team members comes back to confront the professor. That's like, this is bad juju. You gotta get rid of this thing. The professor chases him out, only to have his colleague return back again and bust the urn wide open, releasing the giant spider. Of course, this guy ends up getting it from the spider. It sneaks into his van and gets him. But the spider is great. It's not giant spider like the tarantula, the 500-foot spider, but it's probably 5 feet in like the 5-foot spider that is very sneaky and likes to hide in the attic, and it's a web generating spider goddess, and the highlight is the spider dropping in and descending and eating a cat.
Oh, poor kitty.
So yeah, there's a great sort of mother and kids kind of a plot line.
Yeah,
the spider captures and preps the younger daughter,
right?
And so they got to save the kid. And if you've got any kind of spider phobias, this will get under your skin in a big way. It's a lot of fun. I think again, arachnophobia like it's a smaller budget film, but the effects are extremely convincing and it's fun. I think more than anything else, it sort of rides the line between PG-13 and R.
Okay.
So teens.
Where can you see Itsy Bitsy?
It's available for free with Amazon Prime.
Oh, awesome!
So, yep.
All right,
cool.
Liz.
All right, my final one is a TV series.
Of course.
I've mentioned it before, but this is Fortitude. Fortitude is a British horror thriller from 2015. It was created and written by Simon Donald, and it stars Richard Dormer, who is from Game of Thrones. It stars Stanley Tucci, right, Michael Gambon, and Sophie Grabel, and many other characters who I cannot pronounce their names because most of them are Norwegian. It's set in the fictional town of Fortitude, which is in the Arctic Circle. It's an island. It's frozen. There's polar bears, and about a little over 700 people live there. And what happens is there are multiple storylines, but our bug storyline is that something has been discovered under the ice, like a woolly mammoth. Mm-hmm. And it's been discovered because even though it was buried, the permafrost is melting. And since it's been under the ice for, 36,000 years or however many thousands of years, mm-hmm, there are some bugs that were kept just like Jurassic Park. They went for dino DNA and the mosquitoes.
Frozen in
there
time.
Are bugs in those. They're frozen in this mammoth. But these, unfortunately, are apex predator wasps that get into people, eat their host from the inside out, and make them do crazy, crazy things. So a town that has never had no murders all of a sudden has a rising body count, including children committing murders, like the town's favorite girl where they're like, there is no way. And it's all because of these bugs. That's a tiny bit of a spoiler, but not really. And tons of stuff going on in Fortitude, a lot of other plots. It would be really good for you guys to watch because it's summer there and everybody's getting frostbite in the snow. So maybe you could train your brain to think it's a little bit cooler. But it's an excellent series. It's got 2.5 seasons. The third season is only a couple episodes.
Which channel again?
Really good. It is on. So season 2 and 3 are available for free on Prime. Okay. Season 1 you would have to rent because Amazon bought it from Sky Atlantic, the British show, and season 2 and 3 have Dennis Quaid in them. He's not bad, but kind of a rando selection, and it gets crazy. There is tons of horror. Anybody who's into horror is going to like this one. Fortitude.
Huh. Cool.
I'm going to go watch Fortitude. That sounds really interesting.
It's great. I love it.
All right.
All right.
I rewatched the whole season.
All right, my last film
is
a film that a German TV series called Die schlechten Testen Filme aller Zeiten, also known as The Worst Films Ever, featured this film from 1988, and this is a film called Slugs. Okay. Also, this is an American Spanish horror film that also went by the title Muerte Viscosa. This is what I was kind of talking about also with regard to corporate malfeasance. In this case, it's a rural town that becomes prey to a strain of black slugs. I don't know how the hell they got this many slugs, but black slugs that are spawned from the disposal of toxic waste.
Of course.
And it's up to the plucky young health inspector to save the whole town. People, of course, are dying mysteriously and gruesomely at the hands of these slugs that come out of the toilet, the bathtub, the sink, the floorboards, the walls, and everywhere else you can think of. And it's only until the town does its own investigating and they decide it's probably about high time that we bring in a slug expert that, of course, the health inspector is vindicated, and that they then take to the sewers to defeat the mighty slugs.
When I was a kid, I was deathly terrified of banana slugs.
Man, well, if you're still afraid of banana slugs, this film will freak you out because, again, I don't know how in the hell they got this many slugs, and I don't know what film techniques they used.
Probably.
But it was crazy. There was like these rooms that were just full of slugs, and they'd have these poor actors like slipping and sliding, covered in blood, falling like naked, falling onto all of these slugs or slug-like creatures. And I'm like, I just kept thinking, how in the hell did you get this many slugs?
They have a slug wrangler.
A slug, yeah. They must have hired a slug wrangler. It is surprisingly, for such a goofy film with a goofy title, it is surprisingly very gory, and there are several scenes where the slugs get after people, and it is a nasty, nasty bit of business. I think the Germans are wrong because it is not the worst film ever. It's actually a pretty darn good film, and it's pretty fun. The thing that's funny is that because they used both Spanish actors and American actors, there's several scenes where they're shot on different sets where the American actors were clearly in the U.S. It looked like it was filmed. I think it was filmed somewhere in upstate New York, and then the Spanish actors were clearly in Spain. And so it's this weird. You kind of get whipsawed back and forth between these set locations where you're like, wait a second, that doesn't look like upstate New York. That looks like Spain. And lo and behold, if you have that thought, you're probably right because that's how they did it. They just split the time between the two locations. Now, Rotten Tomatoes gives this a 38%, not quite as bad as the 6% that Empire of the Ants holds on Rotten Tomatoes. But it's a fun movie. It's if you want gore, it's a great gory film, and if you want a fun throwback to the 1980s, go see Slugs or Muerte Viscosa.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw in just some titles here. If you're looking for other bug movies, The Fly, both the 50s Fly and the 86 Fly, which is one of the best horror movies ever.
Yep.
Really shouldn't have to mention that one. Kingdom of the Spiders, which is William Shatner.
Super awesome. One of the best bug movie endings ever.
Right, and it's I think there's a Riff Tracks version of that one also. If you like the lighter side of things, I think it's actually not so deserving of a Riff Tracks. I think it's better than that.
It's way better. Yeah. In fact, I was very close to putting it on my list.
Yeah. We had Black Scorpion, which we talked about
Black
a long time
Scorpion
ago.
Is awesome.
There's a German when Liz was talking about what Fortitude.
Fortitude.
There's something called Blood Glacier, which is an Austrian horror movie about.
Yeah, we watched that.
Yeah. And
a million years ago.
I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Slither, of course.
Yep, Slither's great.
But we've talked about Slither, but Mimic, Grabbers.
Yep.
It's like
I love Grabbers.
That, which is totally silly. And Tremors. We've talked about Tremors.
Mm-hmm.
Splinter, which is a fungus. I almost included that one, but it was more kind of like fungus zombie, but the detached hand running around, chasing people around. I thought was kind of creepy crawly, but maybe not. Queen of Black Magic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just the scene on the bus. Yeah.
Yep.
It's wild, and it appears in every single version of the movie poster, and there's like
centipedes. And
there's like 20 versions of the movie poster.
Right. Squirm.
Yeah. Squirm is great
back in the day, and a classic, one of my formative stupid horror movies, Parasite 3D, starring Demi Moore in 1982.
Heck yeah! Well, I want to give a shout out since John, as a memorial to John Saxon.
Oh yeah,
who we lost this year. He did a wonderful film called The Bees. That's a great film. We should also mention Them, of course, which I think you did kind of mention. Monster from Green Hell. And then a couple other really good films that have come out, some old, some new. The Nest and They Nest, two different films, and then Ticks is actually a pretty good film as well.
Yeah. So there's a lot to pick from. There's also some of the stuff which is the made cheap on the fly, straight to video things, which are things like Arachnoquake or just avoid
Sharkaconda.
There's some of these nature gone bad ones.
We might get there someday.
No,
but probably not.
All right, so we got a closing tagline.
I've got one.
Okay.
All right, this one is from Arachnophobia, and it's 8 legs, 2 fangs, and an attitude.
There you go. Classic. You gotta love Arachnophobia.